So yeah, I want to talk about helmets this evening, and just thinking about why it might be difficult to ride in Hobart. So really the theme of this vlog is to sort of think about why it might be difficult for some people to make the commitment to ride when maybe that's something they want to do for their health or their mental health, for their wallet, you know, for the environment, anything like that. What are the things that are holding them back? Well, one of the things that didn't really occur to me before when I started thinking about doing this was this need to wear a helmet when you ride a bike. So Australia is, I think Australia was the first country to introduce mandatory laws to ensure that people had to wear helmets when they rode bicycles. So this will be foreign to some people in European countries. For example, the idea of wearing a helmet is probably optional, and most people don't do it. Hang on, I'll just focus here for a second. That's all good. So, yeah, I mean, to me, when I was growing up and learning how to ride a bike, basically I started riding when these mandatory laws came in. I think it was about the early 90s. Don't quote me on that. Everything I say needs one of those little footnotes with citation needed, like they have in Wikipedia or something. So it came in about the early 90s. So I've grown up basically being indoctrinated that you have to wear a helmet. There's no other way to ride a bike. You simply must wear a helmet. And what I might actually do is show you guys an ad or something that I would have seen on TV as I was growing up when I was thinking about riding a bike. They pushed pretty hard.
Wear a helmet. That's cool. You want to have a future, you have to wear a helmet. 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 Wear a helmet.
In terms of advertisement and stuff. So now, as a result, if you want to ride a bike in Australia, you have to wear a helmet on the road. It's something like a $200 fine if you don't wear a helmet. Let's just try and make sure that, whoops. Yeah, so now we've got a situation where within the last few years, it's probably been more, but it seems to be making the media more and more now, there's a pushback against people having to wear helmets. And there's actually arguments, which quite surprised me, against wearing helmets. And I want to go through some of those on the trip back here, just to talk about where those arguments are coming from and exactly what they are. One of the reasons is that they think it's bad for your health, is it discourages people from riding bikes. Okay, so they had this, whoops, the bike just locked up there, that's not good. They had this this study that showed once they brought in the mandatory reporting laws, or the mandatory helmet wearing laws, very few people, okay, let's just sidle down very carefully here. Yeah, there was a sharp decrease in the number of people who wore helmets. And what that means, for a population at least, is that the fewer people who ride bikes on the road means that it becomes less safe for those who choose to ride. So for example, me on the road here on my own, I'm a little less safe. If I had numbers around me, like some kind of, fish that's in a school, I could scatter for the predator. No, that's not true. If I could just be safer, basically safety in numbers. So there's an argument there, like against the epidemic that's happening obviously in the Western world with obesity, that if you don't have mandatory requirements to wear helmets, that you'll encourage more people to be active and less people. It's more like sort of altruism, community altruism really. by allowing a lot of people to make a bad individual choice. Well, I consider it a strange individual choice. I don't think there's any question that if you have an accident, well, there might be a question. If you have an accident and you're not wearing a helmet, it's going to be a worse outcome than if you were wearing a helmet. But there's dispute there as well. There's definitely dispute there as well. Now, I'm not riding particularly sensibly here. You must admit, I talked about making mistakes. I'm definitely making mistakes here. I need to stay in the lane. I need to pick the lane and I need to stay in it. Now, the other reason they consider it bad for your health when you make mandatory wearing of helmets required. Oh, somebody's going the wrong way up the road there. That's good. Is that by wearing a helmet, cars perceive that you are safer, that you're basically a safer road user, so they will pass you at a less safe distance. I'm not so sure about the theory of that. That sounds a little strange to me, but I guess if you perceive that somebody is wearing safety gear, perhaps you will treat them with a little less caution. I don't know if that's true or not though. I just got my first strange look, by the way. I often wonder about talking to myself on the bike and whether I'd get funny looks, but I figure it's not really that unusual for people to talk to themselves anymore with Bluetooth and so on and so forth. But there you go, that was my first funny look. So, the other reason that they say it's more dangerous for you if you have to wear a helmet is from the individual who's wearing the helmet. So, let's say, for example, let's take me. Because I'm wearing a helmet and I'm wearing a safety feature, that was good. I believe myself to be more safe on the road, so I take greater risks on the road. Therefore, I'm posing a greater danger to myself by wearing safety gear. Again, this might sound like complete rubbish to you, but I think these are interesting arguments, both in like individual psychology and social psychology as well. See, that guy's kind of got the right idea. No, he doesn't at all. See, that makes us look really bad. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's fine. I've got to be careful not to be too righteous and polemic, really. Thank you. Because I'm a dick on the road as well. That guy in that ad that we saw last time, don't be a dick. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? I'll try not to be a dick. Believe me, I try, but sometimes it's just naturally within me to do such stupid things. So curiously, part of where this debate came about the issue of wearing helmets was a Senate inquiry a couple of years ago, put forth by a Liberal senator who wanted to, or was at least concerned about, or wanted to discuss the issue of the nanny state. So the government sort of imposing on our individual rights to the extent that we're just being treated like children, I guess. And he had in mind that what would be the biggest issue was the lockout laws in Sydney. So we've got a big problem with alcohol-fueled violence in Australia. I don't know if it's bigger than most countries, but I suspect it might be. And to curb this, I'm sure there have been a lot of initiatives, but one of them was to close, I think I've got this right, to close bars at a certain time, or people's ability to enter bars after a certain hour, so you get locked out, so that you can't, because most violence would occur in the early hours of the morning. So if you stop people drinking earlier, then you might get some results. But what he found was that people's being told to wear helmets on the road was the number one issue. I think, again, I could be making this up, but it was certainly a prominent issue. And that's very interesting. That suggests to me that perhaps a lot more people would like to ride bikes if they could be given the choice. So again, what's stopping people though from wearing helmets? You've looked at why it might be good to allow people to ride around without helmets. But what is stopping them? Why don't they want to wear helmets? So quite honestly, I think vanity is a big reason for not wanting to wear a helmet. I'm just going to try and pass this guy if I can. Oh, that is embarrassing. I just passed him only to stop at this thing. Oh, geez, I should have been paying attention there. So he goes right by me. I mean, that's his thing, I guess. Maybe he's a bit slower, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but if he feels that he's safer jumping those lights, then I don't know. I'll talk about that sometime, about breaking the law as a cyclist when you feel it's safer. It just frustrates me sometimes, for no good reason. I'll just finish on something that made me laugh when this issue was brought to my attention. I'm not sure whether they did it facetiously or not, but someone put forth an argument against helmets, that the mandatory wearing of helmets was a sexist act by the government because it's usually women's hair that's more, let's say, sculpted and styled, and therefore more prone to being crumpled or wrecked by a helmet. I don't know about that. Strange world. Anyway, on that note, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.